In today's world where personal finance management has become more complex than ever, how can we as individuals navigate the financial landscape with ease and confidence? So confusing out there. Well, today on Tech Talks Daily, I'm thrilled to have the founder and CEO of a company called Piere joining us. Now, Piere is not just a financial app. It's somewhat of a revolution in personal finance that is combining AI-driven insights with intuitive design to empower users with real-time personalised financial guidance, and also allowing anybody to do all that in just a couple of taps. But I also want to find out more about the story behind Piere and how from today's guest's early days consulting with Fortune 500 companies to a personal finance management challenges in New York City, how that helped her craft Piere to be the ultimate financial companion by offering, as I said a few moments ago, two-tap budgeting. That's my kind of work. But not only that, it also offers automated reconciliations, the ability to pool money with your friends or a group for a purchase. But how does tech make all this possible? How does she simplify it all? Well, today we'll dive into Yuval's journey, the inspiration behind Piere, and how this innovative app is changing the way we manage our finances, ultimately making it simpler, smarter, and more tailored to our individual needs. Before we get today's guest on, though, I need to give a quick shout out and a thank you to the sponsors of Tech Talks Daily this month. They are Kiteworks, and in a digital age where the landscape of remote work is ever expanding, the security and efficiency of your managed file transfer solution are paramount. This is where Kiteworks sets a new benchmark, far surpassing legacy MFT tools with its unparalleled security measures and user-centric design. They've even been awarded the prestigious FedRAMP Moderate Authorization, a recognition that is not easily obtained, and they've held it since 2017 by the Department of Defense. So what I'm trying to say here is don't let outdated technology dictate the safety and efficiency of your business operations. Simply step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks, and you can start your journey towards uncompromised security and unparalleled functionality today by visiting kiteworks.com. That's kiteworks.com, where you can explore the future of secure data management. But now it's time to get on with the show and invite today's guest on. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to New York, where today's guest is waiting to share her story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me, Neil. It's really my pleasure to be on the show. My name is Yuval Shuminer, and I'm the CEO of Piere. Piere is the personal finance concierge that turns the complexity of your financial life. It turns it into a journey of financial confidence, of financial control. We support our users through that journey by offering a bunch of intelligent financial management tools that, for example, give you visibility into your finances, gives you visibility to your accounts. They help you create and stick to a budget in just a few taps. And we're working on some really exciting new features to bring even more personalization, even more personalized insights and experiences directly to the user. Before I founded Piere, I worked in strategy consulting. I worked at BCG, Boston Consulting Group here in New York City, where I managed and developed go-to-market strategies, developed negotiation strategies, acquisition strategies for Fortune 500 companies.
Incredibly cool. And there's so much to unpack there. And in nearly 3,000 interviews, one of the things that I'm learning more and more every day is there's always some kind of backstory going on here. But so I've got to ask, can you share the inspiration behind Piere, the name as well, and also how your experiences in New York City maybe influenced the development as an intelligent financial system? There's got to be a story there, right?
Yes, there is. And it very much is a personal story, right? I built Piere to solve a problem that I myself was facing. So I'll take you back a few years. I'm working at BCG. I'm living in New York City. It's the city of dreams. I came here after college, as did a lot of my friends. And it's a city where every single corner that you turn, every step that you take, you're presented with a new financial decision, right? Every day I'm asking myself, today, do I make my coffee at home or do I get the $8 chai latte at Starbucks on the way to work? Do I take the subway back after work or do I pay for that $40 Uber? Is the rent that I'm paying, and mind you, outrageous rent that I'm paying for my little tiny New York City apartment, does that make sense? Is that a good use of money? Is that what other people are paying? Or is that money, is it better saved? Is it better invested? Right? I found myself constantly faced with these financial decisions and choices every single day. And I realized that my bank account, my credit card statement, they were telling me what I spent, but they weren't telling me how those choices were contributing to or reducing value from my life. They weren't telling me how those choices were shaping my financial future and if they were the right choices to be made, right? And so I felt that I needed a platform that understood my particular financial situation to help me gain confidence in these decisions and the decisions that I was making and gain confidence about my financial future. And so Piere, it's that vision coming to life. It's a platform where users come not only to manage their finances, but to gain a partner that offers them personalized guidance, that offers them personalized insights to help them in their journey to achieve financial independence. Now, the name, it really is part of that vision as well, right? When you think about the support that you need to make financial decisions, you think about asking others questions, you think about going to your parents, right? There's definitely this human component to offering financial guidance, offering personalized guidance. And so we didn't want you to feel like you're just going to some other platform that you can't connect to. We really wanted you to feel like there's a person behind the platform, there's a human, there's a partner, right? That's here to help relieve some of the burden that you have in making financial decisions, to help lift some of that burden off of your shoulders. So we really wanted the name to be a human name, right? To offer for people who, may not be able to afford a real human to support them in their financial decisions, to be able to offer them that same experience through technology. And so that's really where the name came from as well.
And I applaud you for doing just that, because I often say on this podcast that most people, they go through 15 years of education and they're not taught, wherever they are in the world, they're not taught how to look after their money, how to track their money. And a few years ago, I think it was Mint that had a lot of money tracking capabilities on there, but I think that shut down January the 1st this year. There's just not much going on there. But how would you say Piere is different from others that are in the market, especially considering some of those budgeting apps that are available today? Because it feels like you guys are doing something a little bit different, but can you just expand on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right. Mint was kind of this legacy platform that's been around since the beginning. And the landscape is definitely shifting. Part of that is you're seeing Mint, which did announce its shutdown November of last year. And you're seeing platforms like Piere taking a lot of those opportunities and really capturing a lot of those users, because users are still demanding some of the most foundational aspects of personal financial management, and they're still not finding the solution on the market, right? And so when we really speak to our users who come from Mint or who come from other personal finance platforms, what we hear is that there's a few really clear reasons why they're coming over to Piere and really how we're differentiating ourselves in the market. The first is in regards to ease of use. Traditional financial management. And when you think of the concept of serious financial management, what comes to mind? For me, it's these complicated spreadsheets with all these Excel formulas that break all the time, right? It's this sense of complexity, right? Serious financial management, it's always felt like a distant reality for a lot of people who might not have, a lot of financial education, as you mentioned, right? And go to school for 15 years, and yet we might not know exactly how to manage our own personal finances. And so where we really are differentiating is that whereas a lot of traditional platforms demand hours to set them up, hours to create a budget, require managing this, complex spreadsheet-like application, we really are simplifying the entire process. Our user interface is a lot more simple and intuitive. And our platform, when it comes to budgeting, it creates this comprehensive, ready-to-use budget in just a couple of tabs, right? Users can get onboarded and budgeting in our platform in less than 5 minutes. And we do everything for them, right? From creating the budget for managing transaction categories, or automatically reconciling their transactions. And so one of the areas where we really differentiate is in terms of that ease of use. Now, the second is in terms of personalization. And we're hearing this is really something that stands out for our users as well, because we've really moved past this kind of rudimentary do-it-yourself model that a lot of financial platforms or a lot of financial solutions take. And so our budgeting system, it takes all of your spending patterns, your spending habits, your financial goals. It analyzes all of that and crafts for you a fully customized budget that's specific for you, right? So Neil, if you go into our platform, we're going to create Neil's budget that aligns specifically with your unique financial objectives, that aligns specifically with your unique financial priorities, right? It's how we're using technology to take another leap towards effortless financial management, stepping away from that concept that serious financial management requires a lot of effort, right? And a lot of the upcoming features that we're working on, they're going to make the experience even more personalized. And then really the last differentiator that we hear from our users is accuracy, right? Accuracy is paramount in financial management. It's the foundation on which everything relies. And so recognizing this, our platform handles a lot of reconciliations in your finances, reconciling peer-to-peer payments, for example, automatically for the user, which is a common source of frustration and inaccuracy with other tools. And so when compared to the market, our users really tell us, Piere, it's intuitive, it's personalized, and it's precise. And that's how we're really differentiating in the market.
And I think what puts a lot of people off from financial apps is that complication that you mentioned there. But you did say two-tap budgeting, personalization sounds incredibly easy. So for anybody that may be listening that's interested in giving this a try, can you just elaborate on that simplicity and some of the ways that you simplify budgeting and financial planning for the users? Because that is the big tricky part, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's 100% it, right? And that's really where we're hearing a lot of demand for the platform come from as well. Because if you think about budgeting today, it's an incredibly manual process, right? The traditional approach to budgeting says, look at your finances, find a tool that works for you, set up a budget by manually creating every single category that you want to try, oftentimes without a baseline, right? Maintaining that budget requires you to assign every single transaction to a category, seeing how it affects your budget. But the time that's required to set up and maintain that, it's a huge barrier for a lot of people. We've had so many users who've come and told us, I've always felt, quote unquote, too busy to manage my finances seriously. But we at Piere, we're here to challenge the idea that serious financial planning demands intense manual effort and time on behalf of the user. We don't think that's true. Rather, we think that serious financial planning actually starts with an intuitive and an easy to use platform that makes it easy to stick to your financial habits, right? And so we want to kind of take away this idea that serious financial planning, it's complicated spreadsheets, right? Rather, we believe that serious financial planning is intuitiveness. We believe it's something that makes it easy to stick to, something that makes it easy to use. And that's what we've heard from our users as well, right? Who tell us, again, they're so busy, they've never been able to manage their finances. But with Piere, they realize that serious financial planning doesn't have to require so much time and effort. And so when we go back to the product feature, in order to really enable that ease of use of budgeting, we have our two-tap budgeting feature, where basically in two taps, we create for you a budget, you review it and approve it, and you're on your way to budgeting, right? We analyze all your past spending, take all of those transactions, what they reflect in terms of your priorities, and then recommend that budget for you that's customized for those priorities. It's a combination of your unique spending and savings objectives. It's a combination of what we learned from analyzing your historical spending patterns, as well as it being coupled with proven financial guidance where relevant to inform what the right budget is for you. And so we're really leveraging technology to make that budgeting more intuitive, and that's getting increasingly more intelligent with every update that we make.
And something else you mentioned a few moments ago was automated reconciliations, especially for shared transactions. That woke my curiosity too. So how does that function work, and what benefits does it offer to users, particularly if we've got somebody listening that maybe they're in shared living or a group scenario? How does that process work?
Yeah, so people share transactions all the time. It's become an incredibly important part of our day-to-day financial behaviors. And it's actually, if you look at the statistics, it more than doubled since before the pandemic. It's increasingly a more prominent financial behavior. But people share transactions all the time. You'll go to dinner and need to split the bill with friends. You'll buy groceries for your house. You'll want to split it with your roommates, right? Usually what happens, one person puts down their card and then they request reimbursement from others. Now, if you're someone who's trying to manage their finances, if you're someone who's trying to understand and bring clarity to your financial picture, these quote unquote share transactions, they don't really jive with your finances. Because, let's take an example of a dinner. One person may just have put a $200 dinner transaction on their card for 4 people. So it's $50 each. Now, financial tools pull their underlying source of data from your credit card. So whatever you have on your credit card statement is what's going to be brought into the financial tool. And your credit card statement just says you spent $200 on dinner. You put your card down for $200. So that's the data that these other tools have. So now you have a $200 transaction. Your restaurant spending increases by $200 on your budget. Your cash flow increases by $200. The challenge and the issue is that doesn't necessarily reflect your actual financial picture, your actual spending, right? We know that you didn't really just spend $200 on dinner. You got reimbursed for 3/4 of it. So your share is only $50. Your budget should only be increasing by $50. That's where we see the experience for a lot of users who have a lot of these shared transactions, especially if you're talking about younger demographics, right? Gen Z millennials that have a very large proportion of their transactions oftentimes coming through on peer-to-peer payment platforms. That's where these kind of traditional financial management tools break, right? And so Piere's automated reconciliation feature, it's designed to simplify and streamline the process of managing those shared expenses, reconciling them into your finances. Or in other words, making sure that your financial picture in the example above only reflects your personal spending of $50 automatically, even if you put $200 on your card. And so the way that it works is that when a user pays for a share expense, such as rent, utilities, groceries, dinner with friends, and gets repaid for that expense, Piere automatically detects the repayment and updates the user's budget and transaction history to reflect only their portion. And so users can finally keep, a clear, accurate record of their own financial commitments, even given the complexities of shared transactions and group finances.
And we might have just broken a record because I think we've got at least 15 minutes on a tech podcast without mentioning AI, but we're going to break that down because I was reading before you came on the podcast today about the AI behind Piere that also enhances the app's ability to provide personalized financial guidance. And AI is a huge topic right now. It seems to be dominating every aspect of our lives. And I'd love to help listeners understand how we might be able to help in some of that financial guidance. So can you expand on some of those AI features?
Yeah, absolutely. So our goal is to do exactly that, right? It's to leverage AI to deliver an even more tailored and unique financial experience for every single one of our users. And that really goes back down to our vision, right? We believe that every single person is on a different journey. And we want to make sure that our tools support them, whoever they are, wherever they are, in order to achieve that level of personalization. That's really where AI comes in, right? Part of that applies to budgeting. Where AI can enable the creation of incredibly and even more personalized spending plans, taking into account more information than a human or than another sort of algorithm would be able to take in, right? It can analyze your financial data, your income, your expenses, your transactions, your spending habits, your investments, and couple that with your financial goals, your risk tolerance, your overall financial health, and identify patterns and trends that might be otherwise overlooked by a human. But the deep understanding of your financial profile, it also forms the foundation for a lot of insight on the platform outside of just budgeting, right? Our goal is to help users make more informed decisions. And part of that comes through where they put their money, right? That's where budgeting really comes into play and creating a plan for their money. There's a lot of different areas of finance that this understanding of your financial background, using AI can help us really surface insights to the user that they wouldn't otherwise be able to garner on their own. And so whether it's a fluctuation in income or an opportunity to save money with something else in the market or an unexpected expense that needs some sort of attention, right? Leveraging AI can help ensure that users are always being surfaced the insights that they need, and they're always making more informed decisions. And then on top of that, something that I think is really interesting, especially if you think about the last, year and few months of this craze of Gen AI, if you implement it correctly, and I think there's definitely some nuance there, right? Because I don't think a surface level implementation of generative AI is what the market really needs right now. But if you leverage the foundational elements of generative AI, such as natural language processing, right? You can help turn this really complex subject into something that's accessible and intuitive and conversational, right? By making and allowing users to interact with Piere as a personal finance platform in the same way they would interact with a human, right? And so when we think about AI, we're thinking both at kind of the deeper level, how can we use it to work with data better and to get better insights from data, but then surface those conclusions, those insights, those data points in an incredibly intuitive, natural conversational way to users.
And that was also really how Piere offers the ability to pull money together for group purchases or holidays, for example. So I've got to ask, how does that feature work? A question I've got to ask as well, of course, is what safeguards are in place to manage those pooled funds securely and transparently?
Absolutely. So let's say you're a mom fundraising for a charity, or you're organizing an activity for all the neighborhood kids, or maybe you're collecting from others at work to get a gift for your coworkers, or bring your entire family together to get a big gift for your grandma's 80th. Whatever the scenario, and there's many of them. When you're collecting money from a large group of people for purchase or for an expense, it becomes such a hassle to track who paid you and how much you've collected, right? We're still using peer-to-peer platforms for that. We're using Venmo, we're using Cash App. And the money movement, it's handled by the peer-to-peer platform, but none of the logistics are. And so our pools feature, it offers a solution for that, right? You create a pool in Piere, you type in how much you want to collect, and then instantly send those payment requests to everyone that you want to include. Now, to your point about how we make sure that those money movement, they're safe and they're secure, the payment for our pools, it's still completed through a peer-to-peer platform provider, such as Venmo. So everything is as secure as your normal Venmo payment. But the feature is a tool on top of Venmo, where we help track all of those contributions to the pool. We let you know how much you collected and from whom, and we really take away the logistical hassle on top of pooling up.
Love that. Such a great feature. And I've got to ask as well, with your background in consulting and strategy, how have you applied some of your expertise in go-to-market and negotiating strategies into Pierre's development and user acquisition? Because it feels like it's one of those moments like the Steve Jobs quote, you can't look forward and join up the dots. But I suspect now when you look back, you can see how it all fits into place.
Oh, I have those moments very frequently where I'm working on something. It's perhaps a strategy that I'm building, or sharing, we're getting ready to present with our board or have that conversation. And I think, wow, I can't believe how relevant what I learned in consulting applies to what I'm doing now, because that's exactly the point, right? Consulting and strategy consulting specifically, it exposes you to such an incredible breadth of different types of problems and different types of questions that these incredibly large and ambitious companies face, right? And you're put right in the middle. You're challenged to really say, okay, how can I understand all of the different data points? How can I take, all these different points that people are making, come up with a solution and implement that solution, understand if what we're doing is working or not, right? And so my background in consulting and strategy, when applied to Piere, it's been applied in everything from understanding the market landscape, right? Before we launched Piere, we conducted extensive market research and talked to a bunch of users to really identify target audiences with specific financial needs that weren't met by other competitors on the market. I think my background has also guided us in developing this comprehensive go-to-market strategy that includes everything from product positioning to pricing strategies to distribution channels to marketing campaigns. It's also supported negotiations with our partners. I worked on an incredibly interesting negotiations case up in Canada when I was working at PCG. And a lot of those skills are transferable, right, to a lot of the conversations that we're having now with our partners on how can we mutually bring value to our company, to their company, to our users. And that's really the underlying, underlying purpose of any sort of negotiation. And then I think the most important thing that I really took away from strategy consulting, and this is something that I'd recommend to everyone that's currently in strategy and management consulting, is to really make sure that you understand how important it is to make data-driven decisions, right? I think strategy consulting instilled in me the value of data. And as part of that, we've implemented incredibly robust analytics and performance tracking systems, right? Every time that we do something, we try to measure the effectiveness of what we're doing. And that's really something that's important to me personally as well, is whenever I make a decision, how can I get all the data that I need to make it most effectively?
Love that. And if we dare to look into the future, into a virtual crystal ball, is there anything you can share around your visions for the evolution of Piere and how you see it shaping the way that individuals manage their finance? You probably can't share too much about your plans, but any teasers you can leave us with?
Yeah, I'll leave you with our vision, right? Imagine a world where every single person, independent or regardless of their economic background, regardless of their education level, has access to personalized financial guidance and is able to make informed financial decisions without stress, right? That's our goal. Our goal is to be able to support people, empower people with the tools they need to achieve financial independence, to take away this, and from my perspective, misconception that finances should be a source of stress, and rather to create a world where finances are viewed as a tool to create value in your life. I think when we've driven that change in perspective in people, that's when we've achieved success, right? Success for us isn't just measured by user numbers. It's not measured by revenue. It's measured by this changing perspective and how can we use finances as a tool to create value and how can we make positive impact in our users' life.
Wow, such a powerful moment to end on. I'll be following your story very closely. And yeah, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on here, share your story and your invaluable insights and how they will empower people listening anywhere in the world that sign up to this. But before I let you go, I'm going to see if there's something we can do for you here. Now, some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or maybe even listened to this podcast. So is there a person that you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with? And he or she might just hear this, but I'd love to see if we can manifest something together and throw it out into the universe. Who would that be?
Yes, and I'm a big believer in manifestation as well. Ray Dalio has always been a huge inspiration of mine personally. I think his philosophy on life, it's one that's really inspired my own, right? The idea that you should approach life with principles, with a strategy, that you should accept reality for what it is, not what you want it to be, or not this conception of what you think it is, right? And only when you're honest with yourself, when you're radically transparent with yourself, right? You're not doing yourself any favors by trying to convince yourself of anything other than the truth. But once you do, then you can understand exactly where you are and start working towards your goals, right? And I really like a lot of what he has to say about the importance of humility, the importance of approaching life without ego, and that acknowledging that a person's title or their role, it isn't what gives them merit in their ideas, that you can learn from every single interaction that you have with every person that you have. And that's really how I approach my own life. And that philosophy also comes out in Piere too, to be honest, right? I believe the absolute foundation of financial management is transparency. You have to know exactly where you are. You're not doing yourself any favors by not knowing or by not being honest with yourself about your financial standing. And so once you achieve that transparency, once you accept your reality for what it is, then you can start to take actions to improve it. And in the long term, you'll be rewarded for it. So Ray Dalio, if you're hearing this, I'd love to have a conversation.
Well, I'll love to send that out into the universe. We'll throw it into the ether. Let's see what we can manifest together there. And I echo everything you just said there. I too like to try and learn something from every single person that I encounter in this crazy life. And before I let you go, for anyone listening that maybe they want to check out the app, maybe want to find out more information, contact your team, anything at all, where would you like to point everyone listening?
Absolutely. So you can find the app on Piere.com. That's Piere with one R.com, or the Apple App Store. And if you go to our website, you can also get notified about Android and desktop versions once we release those as well. I love speaking to our users. I love speaking to our prospective users. And so you can find how to contact us through the website as well. And we would love to hear from you.
And one of the things that really stood out for me in our conversation today is when we're in the workplace, data-driven decision-making dominates everything now, and quite rightly too. But in our personal lives, that's not always the way, certainly not with personal finance for the large part. And I love how you encountered this problem and didn't just complain about it. You've gone out there and built a solution and built this intelligent budgeting app and financial system that not only helps users see and understand their financial data better, but also offers personalised guidance based on their individual financial situation. And I say at the end of every episode, technology works best when it brings people together. And I love what you're doing here and the ethos behind it. So thank you for sharing your story today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a great conversation.
And that brings us to the end of another insightful conversation. Cannot thank Yuval enough for coming on and sharing that story behind Piere and how this app is redefining personal finance management through AI and intuitive design. Every day on this podcast, I try and demystify technology and say, hey, look how technology can solve real-world problems. Look how it can make our life easier. It's something that so many businesses get wrong, and I think it was Yuval's passion for empowering individuals to make better informed financial decisions. I think it shines through in every single one of Pierre's features, from two-tap budgeting to personalised spending goals and automated reconciliations. It's clear that Piere is not just an app, it's a financial ally designed by someone that's experienced all these problems and now wanting to guide users through financial independence and confidence, no matter what your financial situation is. But I hope this discussion has inspired you to take control of your finances with maybe a little bit more clarity and confidence and simplicity that Piere offers. But this was just a conversation today. Over to you. What steps are you going to take towards achieving your financial goals? Anything you're going to do differently? Please share your thoughts and join the conversation by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilCHughes. But it's time for me to go now. So keep exploring, stay informed, continue to engage with technology that makes a difference in your life instead of just scrolling. And on that note, I'll bid you a fond farewell. But I will speak with you all bright and early tomorrow.